everyone. Thanks for tuning in. It's Natalia. And for today's episode, I wanted to talk about the United Nations. I wanted to talk about this because it's something that everyone has heard of and people seem to have very strong opinions about it. But what's less known is how the institution actually operates and functions. So let's start with the basics. The UN is an intergovernmental organization, which basically means that it's a club where the members are states. Now, the purpose of this club is to get together, make friends, find ways to work together, and make big decisions on issues that really affect the whole world. It was founded at the end of World War II when 50 countries met in San Francisco to draft the UN Charter. By signing this charter, members agreed to uphold certain principles and follow certain rules. Perhaps most importantly, the commitment to uphold human rights of citizens. Now, in order to understand how this is enforced, it's important to know how the system works. So forgive me for being a little bit technical here, but here goes. We're just gonna focus on the General Assembly and the Security Council for today. The General Assembly is where all the member states come to deliberate and make decisions. Each country has an ambassador, and that's their representative at the UN. And an important question called a resolution will be brought up and all of the member states vote on it. So every single state has one vote. And if a resolution gets a 2/3 majority, the resolution is passed. These resolutions cover a really broad range of issues. Everything from like, should we put sanctions on Iran if they don't stop developing their nuclear program? Or should we establish that LGBT rights are human rights? Or should we call for a 7-day ceasefire in Syria to go in and rescue civilians? Wait, what? See, this is where things get tricky because there's also the Security Council. The Security Council is in charge of ensuring international peace and security, accepting new members, and any changes made to the charter. It's comprised of 15 members. Now, 10 of these members are elected on a regional basis and serve for 2 years. But 5 of them are permanent members. These permanent members, the big 5, are the US, the UK, France, Russia, and China, the 5 victors of World War II. And these 5 have the power to veto, reject, any resolution. Just one veto from any of the big 5, and that's it. Game over. The UN often faces harsh criticism about how it responds or doesn't to international crises. People often say that the UN is useless or ineffective. But when pointing the finger at the UN, it's important to understand what the UN actually is. A building. Yeah, that's it. The UN is not this like single entity that can act unilaterally and make decisions and take action on its own. No, it's just a building where people gather, and the UN is only as strong as the people inside make it. When countries work together, they can make real, effective change. They can save lives, prevent genocide, but it only takes one veto to put the brakes on any collective action. And this is the point that Samantha Power, the American ambassador to the UN under President Obama, makes in her brilliant book, The Education of an Idealist. This is the book that actually inspired me to do this episode, and it's where I got a lot of my information from. Something else that really stood out for me in her book is when she writes that sometimes preventing a bad outcome is what passes as a victory. See, we always know when things go wrong because we see the tragedy unfolding on our TV screens, or we can feel the impact in our community. But it's actually really hard to gauge when things go right or when a major crisis was prevented because, well, it never happened. Because the benefits are hard to quantify, well, unless you're one of the billions of people who've gotten their education, medicine, food, water from the UN, but nonetheless, hard to quantify. It's very easy for people to say that we don't need it. But see, that's kind of like saying, oh, I'm healthy now, I can stop working out. Well, no, you're healthy because you were working out. Now, the UN is far from perfect, but it's important to identify both where its benefits lie and where its weaknesses are so that we can constantly be working to improve it. For what it's worth, personally, I believe in diplomacy, and I would rather live in a world where we settle our disputes here rather than here. What do you guys think? Leave your comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. That's all for today.